How to turn your wife's boring old jewelry box into this fabulous bunker today on Attention Span Labs. Hello and welcome to another episode of Attention Span Labs. I'm your host, author Michael A. DiBaggio. As you can tell, from the last several videos at least, I'm also a wargamer and crafter. And this channel is generally about whatever the hell I want to talk about. And what I want to talk about today is this bunker. And a very suitable piece of terrain for Warhammer 40,000 or other modern or historical 28mm war games or science fiction games or anything like that. You could also use it, I suppose, for if you use miniatures in military style role-playing game. But I really like this piece of terrain. It's one of my favorites. It's probably about a year old by now, maybe not that old, but it's made out of a jewelry box, as I said in the intro, and then with shaper sheet, and those are the two things I'm mainly going to talk to you about. But it also has some like really cool features I really like. I really like the look of it. It has a back entrance here, which I'll talk about a bit, covered over that troops can, troops have to be able to get into a bunker somehow. And it's actually functional. It has a hole cut in the bottom, so you can actually put a squad of troops in there. You can put heavy weapons teams in there. I guess even a small vehicle if it's not too tall. So there's not too much lore about this, so we'll just talk about how I made it and how you can make something very similar to it with not a lot of work. Okay, so as I said, the bunker itself is made out of a jewelry box. This is one of those unadorned brown cardboard jewelry boxes you can easily get at Michael's, at Walmart, a place like this. And I turned it upside down so that the opening was on the bottom, because as I said, I was going to cut out the bottom to put troops in, and cut out a hole in the side. It was somewhat irregular. I just used a sharp X-Acto knife. It doesn't have to be too regular because I covered the rough edges with some bent pieces of plasticard. And then the striations, which, as my dog thrashes around on the floor there, fighting with himself. So please excuse the noise interruption. One day I'll make a video that won't have dogs and cats and babies fighting each other. Alright, so this is actually just hot glue I allowed to dry. You see these patterns a lot in actual. I was looking at photos of actual bunkers, actual pillboxes, especially in World War II, and they have that pattern. I don't know if it's from if they're casted that way in the cement, or if they're built, they're like welded, parts of them are welded together. I'm not sure exactly what that is. If you know, let me know in the comments. But it adds a lot of visual interest to what would otherwise be a pretty boring flat box. So I traced out the hole for that on a piece of foam board, beveled up the foam board, as is pretty standard in terrain. That's what this is. Cut out the hole in the bottom so that I could put troops in, and then the main work I did to make this really interesting, and you could have just left the bunker like that if you like, but I thought it would be bermed over, in other words, covered with dirt and rocks to help camouflage it, and also help add some extra armor from mortar fire, machine gun fire, just the extra mass of earth is a great bit of armor, and also camouflage. And I did this using Shaper Sheet, which is this. Shaper Sheet is a product of Woodland Scenics. It's basically aluminum foil on one side and this fabric, this like plaster cloth on the other side, and you shape it. You can cut it very easily with scissors. You can rip it, and you just bend it and shape it into like a rock formation. And it's used for, it was intended for use in model railroading, to make hills and mountains and so forth, but it makes great great wargames terrain as well. And what you do is once you have this formed the way you like, you cover it with you take a silicone brush and brush on some plaster. I forget what it's called, but Woodland Scenics makes it. It's specially for Shaper Sheet, but you don't have to use that. You can use any sort of mix of plaster. You can use the plaster strips in water, like the what's that called, Shell?
What?
The paper, the strips in water.
Paper mache.
Paper mache. Thank you. As I ask my artist wife questions that I can't answer. And then over time it hardens. You can see how soft and flexible this is now. But once that dries, it becomes rock hard. No pun intended. After that, it was just a matter of painting it. I primed it all in black, then dry brushed it with browns and grays, and then flocked it, covered it with bits of lichen, and then flocked the lichen to look like bushes, hedges, and so forth. Added some static grass, just little bits of rock. Your standard, very standard wargaming accents. Now in the back, where I actually used 2 pieces of Shaper Sheet because I didn't really know what I was doing, but it turned out okay. I was able to blend the 2 sections together, but there was a gap which I made good use of using some corrugated cardboard and a couple of little strips of balsa wood to create a covered entrance, and this is where troops would enter. You could, if it were wider, you could actually put. Let's see if I can get a better view of this. Yeah, you know, I have to tilt it up a bit, but you can see the planks to get in. The planks where you would get in there, and there's some corrugated cardboard strip there on the inside wall and also on the top. Well, you know, you do a really good job camouflaging a thing when you try and filming it, and the camera will not focus on it. But I hope you viewers can see that clearly enough. But it does look, I think it looks very realistic. It looks very natural. It's the sort of thing that if you came upon it from the side or the back, you wouldn't even notice that it was a bunker. And of course, if you came upon it from the front, you're dead. Cut down in a withering hail of bolter fire or machine gun fire. But as I was saying, if this back entrance were a little wider, you could actually fit 28mm troops all the way in, and they could work their way in into the bunker itself. Alright, so that's pretty much it. This is an easy thing that you can make. The most expensive thing is probably the Shaper Sheet and the plaster coating. You can buy it from, as I said, you can buy it from Woodland Scenics. I'll have a link in the description. You can buy it from Amazon. If you buy it there, they'll give me a little bit of a kickback, so it'll help support the channel. But it's really not it's not too expensive, and you can get a lot. You get an awful lot of it, much more than I've used to make this. And then the jewelry box was how much? Hell, probably $2-3 or something like that.
It's cheaper than that.
Yeah, so
long as it's either on sale or you have your 40% off coupon, I think it's like $1.50 or so.
as we said in the other video, if you're shopping at Michael's, always use a coupon because they always mark their stuff up. Never buy anything regular price there. And then you just have a bit of flock and a lichen or clump foliage, some rocks to make the rest.
You also forgot the unexpected paint color.
Oh, did you use blue in this too?
No, I used that really light seashell peachy pink.
Oh yeah, okay, I forgot about that. So Shell also did, as she often does, some of the finishing touches with painting. she uses unusual colors, which I get freaked out about and think they're going to ruin the thing. But and she just, you can't even tell. But she mentioned she uses a shade of light pink, and that helped bring out. Your eye obviously doesn't see it looking directly at it, but it blends with the other colors to bring out the natural hues.
It's on there, and it's all over the front of the bunker if you tilt up, especially the raised bits.
Yeah, you actually can see the bit there on the.
I just do that, like, you could use the same color to highlight, and there's nothing wrong with that, or like the same color mixed with white or a slightly lighter tint. But when you use unexpected colors, it could just kind of make it pop a little bit more. And the peachy pink seemed especially good in contrast with all the greens and the dark browns.
The only other thing I want to add is that the cladding around the rim around the front of the gun port, I used plastic card, whereas in other cases I might have used strips of wood, because obviously you can't bend wood like that. You could also use cardboard, or cardboard, poster boards, cereal box, cardstock to do that. It'd probably be even a little bit easier. But I used a pretty thin sheet of plastic card, and it gives a glossy look too, which cardboard wouldn't have without some extra paint.
Also, did you use a special kind of glue to hold it in place, since it obviously has to bend?
The plastic card, I don't remember what I used. As I said, I built this quite a few months ago. I probably just used, I want to say I just used super glue. You have to hold it for a little bit, but not too long. I hope you actually did get a good view of this. Unfortunately, as I said, it's so well camouflaged, the camera has a hard time focusing, and because of the overhanging foliage, it's casting shadow a lot. But there you go. Give it a final turn for the end of the video, and then of course at the end it's all coated in a coat of watered down PVA glue, left to dry to harden up. So you can make something like this yourself very easily, and I definitely encourage you, even if you're just starting with terrain. I made this when I was not especially skilled at terrain building, and it turned out great, and I think you can do it too. You really can't go wrong with the shaper sheet. It'll just look right once you cover it with the plaster and paint it. So give it a shot, and please let me know in the comments if you make something like this or something similar. I'd love to see pictures or your videos. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to our channel. And if you want to help us continue making videos and doing fun stuff like this, consider buying our books. I have 2 of them in the back there, which are 2 of our 6 novels and short story collections, and set in our Ascension Epoch universe, a world of heroic adventure fiction. They're available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other fine retailers. And every purchase helps us continue doing fun stuff like this. So thanks again for tuning in. And this is Mike and Shell from Attention Span Labs signing off.